Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, we made it through our first day of fasting. Alhamdulillah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us to fast the entire month of Ramadan, and may He grant it to be accepted from us, inshaAllah. There are many ayah to speak about tonight, but since we are at the beginning of Ramadan and the beginning of the fasting, the most appropriate would be Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, O you who dare to engage with reality, you who are believers. Kutiba alaykum as-siyam. Fasting has been prescribed for you, kama kutiba ala alladhina min qablikum, as it was prescribed for those who came before you. And interestingly enough, as the students of tafsir would tell you, we found a reference in the book of Ar-Razi, the great mufassir, to the fact that the fasting of Ramadan is not unique to the Muslims. It was given to the Christians as well. But then what they did was, they said to themselves, you know what, 30 is too easy, we can do 40. So they increased it for themselves to 40. And then what happened was, 40 became too much for them, right? And so then they decreased it down to 20. And then when the kings took over, then they removed it altogether, and they said you can fast whenever you want. You don't have to fast specific time or specific period either. And then it came down to the fact where all it is Lent at this point in time, isn't it? What is it? You give up something. Yeah? So that's what we found the reference to it in Tafsir al-Razi, if you would like to look at it. But in this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about fasting, and as you know, fasting is a physical thing. You essentially give up food and drink and desires from Maghrib and from Fajr until Maghrib. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't end this ayah with, so that you can get hungry. He says, لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so that perhaps you will find some taqwa. And on that reference, I wish to read to you the explanation of another mufassir by the name of Ibn Ajiba, who gives a beautiful synopsis of what this fasting is really about. And he says, fasting has been prescribed for you, meaning that you restrain your desires and lower impulses, just as it was prescribed for those before you who walked the path of knowledge and certainty, until they entered the realm of spiritual witnessing. In other words, he's making a reference here to the fact that when you enter this deen, you say the shahada on your tongue, which is the witnessing. You witness the truth. But he says, when you come to realize what this fasting is actually about, then you start to witness with your heart. In other words, the shahada goes to the heart. The purpose of fasting is that you may become present with higher realities, and that the deeper meanings of the divine may be opened to your heart. Whoever before this was spiritually ill with attachment to the world, or was absorbed in the pursuit of worldly concerns, should use these days to make up for what he had lost and return to his Lord. And those who are strong, al-aqwiya, and able to endure this fasting, should extend their strength to the weak, nourishing them, but not only with food, Ibn Ajiba says, but with the nourishment of certainty. In other words, share what you found in this fast with them, of certainty and of knowledge of the Lord of the worlds. That is far better nourishment than the nourishment of the body. Whoever volunteers good by guiding others to what strengthens their yaqeen, their certainty, has indeed attained the greatest goodness. And then he says, he speaks now to the people of strength, to you. You are the people of strength. He says, remain firm in your fasting with a heart that is conscious of Allah, and do not return after moments of spiritual presence. In other words, when you get those glimpses of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whether you're standing in the salah, whether it's during the day, don't return to who you were before. Follow it. And he says, do not return to distraction and immersion in the sensory. Right? This is better and safer for you. If you only knew the harm of such distractions, then you would stay far, far away from it. Because it is the illusion of endless concerns. That's what it is, isn't it? This world is the illusion of endless concerns. For during the time of fasting, the heart becomes receptive. Understanding is opening, inspiration increases, lights appear, and flashes of insight are granted in this month. So whoever reaches this month, let him honor his fasting and preserve its spirit, not just the letter of the law, but the spirit of the law. And whoever fails to do so should take himself to account for allowing these precious days to pass him by without benefit. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. نويت صوم غد عن أداء فرض شهر رمضان